Hello and welcome back. I'm Claire, this is Purple Poppy, and as promised we're on another mini series this week. So grab up all your prints, your odd bits of fabric, odd bits of lace, ephemera that you've already made and not ended up using. Grab it all up, put it in some kind of bag, and that is going to be your kit. So what have I done so far? Right, we're going to have a 6-page 3-ring bound journal this time. So the front cover I've stenciled in 2 colours and left ready for a topper. All the other pages I have done, well, not all of them, I've got one to do with you. I've chosen basically these greeny browny tones. You can see there's book pages, there's digi kits, there's brown paper. That's the back cover, so we'll stencil that in a minute so it looks like the front. Okay, so what I did was I took the book pages, nice brown edge. I stuck 2 book pages together again so that it's fairly thick. I took a page out of an old textbook, a study book about buildings, and I basically made a collage masterboard out of it. Okay, it's really simple stuff so far. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut pieces for the front and the back. So knife, metal ruler. Yeah, the little mini series that I did not last week, the week before, seemed to be really popular, and a couple of you were asking to see more of that type of thing. So here we are doing more of that type of thing. Now that bit obviously wasn't glued down very well, so just need to put an extra bit of glue under there. I'm not worried that it's a little bit torn. We're going to be doing all sorts of messy stuff to this. So then the other side, it just gives us that little extra strip just because of the size of my textbook that I used. Might be able to use that, so we'll hold on to that. Okay, so simple. I'm using glue stick. You use whatever works for you, and we're just going to glue up our book page, and we're going to put down whichever way we feel is right our collaged, our collage page, and then we're going to give it a bit of a smooth out, make sure that's stuck. Obviously didn't cut that very straight, did I? Ho hum, nothing new there. Trim that away. Job a good one. Just give it another little press down, and then we're going to do exactly the same for the other one that we've cut. Okay, I'm going to offer that on. It is slightly shorter than the book pages, but as I say, not a problem at all. Turn it over. So of course, like the one we did week before last, this is now got 6 layers, because we got the 2 book pages in the core, we got the textbook, and then we've got all these bits glued on. So it's a minimum of 6 layers, so it's nice and thick. That one's still a bit damp. Now you'll see that on all of these I've got this different card border. I did cut one. Let's see if we can find it. No, that's not it. That's not it. Right, well, we need the stencil out anyway for the back page. Let's have a look at all my pieces. Look, there's all sorts of stuff in here. That's not it. That's not it. Okay. What have I done with that? I want to find it because I want them all to match. So, just going to try and... No. 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 Oh, for goodness sake. See, I put it all in this bag. And I'm sure if the camera wasn't turned on and I wasn't semi-rushing, because I don't want to waste your time with me looking for something, that it would be... Right, do you know what? It comes from a paper pad. So, I'm just going to cut another one. And see, there's bits of lace in here, pre-made ephemera, pre-cut tags, fabric, is everything. And it's all stuff that, you know, was lying around. There's nothing new except the glue and the ink. So let's just grab another one of those pages so that I can cut another bit of that, because annoyingly I can't find... You know, you watch, the minute we start sticking stuff down in a minute, we're going to find it, aren't we? Because, hey, that's what happens. Is that tall enough? No, of course it's not. And they do all go the correct way. So, we don't really have a lot of choice but to cut into a fresh sheet. Oh no, let's have this one. Okay, sorry about that. So much for being prepped, eh? Now, these are 3/4 of an inch. So 3/4 of an inch is 1.5 inches, isn't it? So, whoops, stand up, get out of the way. Right, so 1.5 inches is there. Now, of course, if you've got a cutter, you could put it on a cutter. I've only got a small one, so of course it's won't take the 12x12. Right, sorry about that. And then we get the height that we want. Excuse hubby. There's our height, just above LAN. Now we can put it on the small cutter. Take a smidge more off of there. You watch me find it in a second, but hey ho. And then, whoops, Jenga, bend that over in half. Again, you can do this on a scoreboard if you want to. I'm just going by eye, as you can see. So, right, this is the one that we've just done. Doesn't really matter which way, as long as the writing, oh mind you, that writing's upside down, so it really doesn't matter. But I'm going to go that way, like that. Okay, still slightly too small, too big, but we can trim that. Glue this on so that you've got one side glued. I'm a coward, so I only glue one side at a time. If you're super brave, then obviously you can do both sides at the same time. And then just gluing that and pressing that down. Okay, and that's how I did every one of my pages. Okay, so they now all look the same, apart from the front, because it's only on one side, and the back. So now let's stencil the back the same as I did the front, and I just chose the stencil that I like, and I tried to make sure that I didn't go on that additional piece that we've added on. So I took just a coffee brown ink and went through the stencil in the normal way. Try not to jog it. But as you can see, I didn't really do all of it. I missed bits because that's where I came back with the green. Now I did mine in coffee and green because that tended to be the colour of the papers on my pages. If you've got red and blue on your pages, then obviously you'd want to use a red and blue ink. Okay, and then I took the green and just basically did the same thing, but I used a different stencil. So there's my brown. Okay, and then the other stencil that I used, I should have left out when I was in here just now, shouldn't I? But it does help having everything in the one bag, because realistically it means you don't have to go rummaging through your craft room, but you could spend quite a lot of time rummaging through your bag. Because this is the second time I've been in here and I still can't really find what I'm looking for. There it is. Okay, so then I used this one and I lined that straight edge up with the edge of my border piece, and I went into my green, which first of all obviously starts off brown because I've still got brown on my brush, but then it starts to come through with the green. Here we go. And you can see the green and browny colour are coming through now. Now the first stencil that I used is an old Stamperia one that I've had a good, I don't know, 5-6 years, you see. Whereas this is a cheap Temu that, well, I don't know, I've got much more recently, let's put it that way. So now I've got my green and brown stenciled back and front. Never going to be exactly the same because obviously you've done them at different times. So these are all of our background pages now, and our front and back cover. So we've got a front cover, a back cover, and then 1, 2, 3, 4 pages in the middle. So there's 6 in total. Now I've got this triple ring bound thingy. If you haven't got one of these, you can definitely use these individuals. In fact, this one has got quite small rings on it. Like, if you close that up, look, it's probably only about half the size of this one. So if you wanted a lot more pages, you'd be better off with something like this. Okay. Now again, as I said earlier, I'm a coward. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I've got this little piece of card that is the same width, well almost, as my border piece. So I'm going to take a pencil and a ruler to show me where I want to do my hole, because look, if I go to the gut of it, it's past it. That's no good. So I'm gonna, you know how these rulers are always in like 3 sections? Well, I am gonna draw one section from the fold. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to measure my triple rings, and I seem to remember that these are basically 1, 3 and 5. They're 2 centimeters apart, so I'm going to measure that. So this is 8, so if I go 7, 5, 3, doesn't matter that it's not right because we're not actually using this. This is just a template. Okay, and I suggest that you do this as many times as you can. So I want that line in the middle of my circle, but I want my pusher to be on the top of that line. So like that. Can you see? Move along a little bit. So that line is in the center, but my pusher is just on the top of that line. Can you see? So then I'm going to do the same again. I want to get that in the center, and I want that on the top. Yeah, and then again in the center, and that is on the top. So there's my 3 holes. So we're going to take our thing and double check before we go punching our precious pages that we've done this in the right place. Okay, so I'm going to open it up and I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, close it up and make sure that it slides without any problem. It's not getting caught. One is not much further over than the other. Okay, and then when you're happy that that works, what we're going to do, it's about the only time I measure. What we're going to do is we're going to take our first page and we're going to measure it. And this page is 20.5 centimeters. So my 3 holes go from 6 to 11 basically, so they span 5. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in to 8, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is 14. That is almost where we want to be. So is that my 8 line? Let's double check. Line that up against there, because then it should be straight. There's my 8 line. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it's going to be sitting between there. It does look marginally high, so let's go down to 7.5. Okay, line that to the bottom. There's 7 and there's 7.5. Okay, right. So then I'm going to put this on here on that 7.5 mark. And then I'm going to put this over the top, put my pusher in that hole, and then I'm going to push really hard because, as I say, you've got 6 layers of paper there, and I'm an old lady with not much strength. Now we've got a really good dent. Oh, I might have to get hubby on this. You can see it's coming. There you go. So there's one. Put it back on so you can see your hole, and do the same thing again. And push that into your hole. Make sure you're in the hole. There you go. Give it a good... Oh. Now if you've got one of those big crocodiles or whatever they're called, I have no doubt that that would do this really easily, but I don't have one of them. There you go. So I feel like I'm getting stronger with each one. Line it back up again and go in there. So we've got a third one. Now, as you can see, that took a good minute. I'm not going to make you sit through that on every page, okay? But I'll do that as like homework or whatever. So there's my 3 holes. There's my spiral. And that is how our book is going to look and our pages are going to turn, okay? We'll do the front later on. What I want to look at doing, and the back, what I want to look at doing now is decorating up a page. Now, okay, this is a pretty page in its own right, so is that. But, you know, we want more, don't we? More is what we want. And this is where all our bits and pieces come into being. Now I've got this beautiful corrugated card, which could make, that's been eco-dyed. That could make a fabulous pocket if we wanted a pocket. I've got leaf skeletons. We could use one of these if we wanted to. Yep, so we've got all sorts of things going on. Just have a good rummage, and I've even got tissue paper. But what I want to do for today is I want to make like a belly band. Now I feel like this one is not going to go well on there. It's covering up too much. So we look at this one, which has got much less going on, and that is going to fit really nicely on there. Okay, so the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to decide where I want it to be. I don't want it to be in the middle because I want to get other stuff on here. In fact, I feel like it would be better if it was a little bit narrower. So I'm going to trim this down. Right up to that leaf. And then I'm going to do the other side. Oh no, because we want the date. So I can't really do the other side. Okay. But I think that will have made a huge amount of difference. Okay. So where's my corner rounder? Use the big one, I think. So do our corner rounding. You can ink it if you want to, and then I am going to glue that quite off to one side. Okay, so glue that top and bottom. Line it up, and there's our first part of our first page. Okay, but I don't want just one thing on my page, do I? I want something else as well. So what I'm thinking is, where was that cardboard? Here. If I take some of this cardboard, this is just the middle corrugated bit, the back is missing, and I'll do a nice curvy shape. We've now got an interesting overlay, make sure you can see, on there, but obviously it's curling up. We need to stick it down. So I've got these here. Look, they've got like a glitter to them. I don't know why. We don't really want glitter, Claire. And this is where you just go for what you've got. Okay, now this is a bit of old file folder. Would be quite nice if we used that, because we can create two pockets there. So we're going to glue all along there, and around this nice curved shape that I just cut, obviously along the bottom, and we're going to stick that on. We're going to stick that onto the top side, not the bottom, of that piece of file folder. Now, because it's ridged, you might have to play with it a minute. Also, it doesn't help that obviously I peeled it off, but you can see it is sticking. You just need to have a little bit of patience with it. And then I'm going to take my knife and my ruler, and I'm going to trim that there. Put this bit back in my project bag, and then this is going to go on there like that. Okay, so this has now only become like half belly band, but that's absolutely fine. That doesn't matter. If you want to ink, now is the time to ink. If you're not bothered, don't bother. Whatever. It really doesn't matter. Okay, and then again, because it's a pocket, I'm going to leave that bit open, and I'm going to glue in a straight, well, sort of straight, across there and down here. Okay, and then that's going to go on that bottom area there. Okay, and from my pre-made ephemera, I've got these little buzzy bee things. So I don't know, do I want to keep the string on it, or do I want to take the string off? I think I'm going to leave the string, but we're going to have a little bit of lace as well. So you don't need a huge amount of supplies, just interesting pieces. There you go. All right, now I find that with things like fabric and lace, glue stick is very much better than wet glue. I don't know why, it just is. And then I'm going to glue my hexie that's previously been made. And I'm just going to pop that on there. Okay, now we had glue on there, Claire, so turn that over. And this is our first page really coming together now. So we're going to want tags. Now, I've got one of these little white tags pre-cut, so that can definitely sit in there. I've got this journaling card that will definitely sit in there. So I mean, this obviously we could decorate up if we want, or we could leave it, whatever. And then I did have a postcard. Now I don't know. Oh look, I've got this folded information about plants, and as this is a plant, we could take our big journaling card out, we can pop that in, and then we've got our little tag and our journaling card. Why is that not going in? That was in there just now. What's occurring, Claire? Claire, what's occurring? There you go. So then that one sits there and that one sits there. And look at that page. We've got so much interaction going on, and we didn't glue this piece down, this piece here. So what if okay, whoops. Maybe that's where this one sits, because that's a little one. There you go, that one sits there, that one sits there, and then I know I had, we've got this one, again, pre-made, that's got a gentleman on it. Is he the beekeeper? No, that's too wide. You see, it's the only trouble when things are pre-made, but I'm sure we can find a narrow one, because of course we've got more of the bees. Will that fit in there? No, that's too wide. Oh, but look, now I feel like I want to take that out. Once you start rummaging through, oh, me glue's come up. Look, it does sometimes pay to let that set. I love that in there. I love that. I think that is awesome, and I like that little white one there. Might be better if it was cream, but it's not. So let's just run a bit of coffee ink around that. Knock back some of that whiteness. Okay, pop that under there. Look at that. I think that just looks awesome. So that goes under there. Remember that because we went right to the edge, we need it to be low. Don't get carried away with yourself. But I can see that's just, look, just going to work. Okay, so just remember that if you go really low, you've got to get your ring holes in, which is where it might be better to make your ring holes first. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to remake this tag, so because it's too wide, but I don't want that one because that's the same as that. So we're going to take out a bit there like that. We're going to double check, does that now fit? No, it's still too wide. What about now? Now it slots in, but now I feel like it's too tall. So take that off, pop that in there, slide that down. That's lovely. We just need to re-angle this. So we're going to use our trusty card with the smallest one. Line it up there. Where's my scissors gone? Take the scissors and trim that corner. Is that right? Yeah. Turn it over, slide it over to that side and trim that corner off. And you've just got a new tag. And then that's going to fit there. So we've got the interactive information about the flowers. We've got this lovely textured tag that can be decorated. We've got this round top tag that can also be decorated. Sit straight, mister. And we've got this other tag. So that's page 1 done. Okay, page 2, what do I fancy? I think I want some fabric on this one. So this is a piece of my fabric. If you don't already know, I have a range of fabric that's been printed for me that I have designed. And I'm going to create like a ruffle. So I'm just going to just fold this, okay? And that's going to go down that side. So I'm going to find a needle and thread. You've got all sorts going on here. You've got mixed media, you've got sewing. Now obviously I need a brownie type cotton. Have I got a brownie type cotton on my desk? That would be too easy, wouldn't it? Whoops. Oh look, we could use that. Is there a brownie type cotton? Whoa, there's paper dolls. Yes, I thought there was one in here. There you go. Right, so I'm gonna thread my needle. I suppose I ought to check how long we've been here. Thread my needle. Okay, so you can do a folded ruffle like I just showed you, and you can glue that, or you can just do like a gathered ruffle with a needle and thread. So if you just simply find very roughly the middle and just do a very basic in out ruffle stitch all the way to the end. Okay, then when we get to the end, we'll pull it to the length of our page. You can choose whether your stitches are long or short, doesn't really matter. Got me thread wrapped around the bottom, which is obviously no good, is it? Oh, I've gone round again, Claire. What have you done, woman? What have you done? That's better. There you go. Okay, and you can see I'm not staying in the middle. It's not essential. If it bothers you, then obviously stay right up the middle. This is a very sort of grungy, scruffy journal. It's not going to bother me at all. Right, make sure that you finish with your needle at the back, and then if you just put your finger on the bottom and pull your thread. Okay, oh, let's put the lid on that ink. Didn't realise that was still open. And then I'm just going to work out how long I need this to be. I want it a bit more ruffled than that. There we go. And I'm going to have that hanging off the page. So when you get to where you want to be, I'm happy with that. And I'm happy with it because I've got a flat section at the top and a flat section at the bottom, and then I've got the ruffly bit in the middle. So trim off my thread, put my needle away before I stab myself, and then I'm going to run my glue stick all the way down the edge there, because if you remember I said to you, glue stick is about the best for fabric. Here you go. Sorry about the shouting in the street. It's late in the afternoon and the beautiful children are making their way home from school. Okay, we could put our initial there. I'm not going to, but you could. And then I haven't checked how long we've been here yet, have we? I'm going to use one of these, what they call, I can't remember what these are called. They're like a school thing, aren't they? What are they called? Oh, anyway. And these ones, I believe, come from the old design shop. So trim these up like so, and at the top there. And this one has actually got a little thumb notch in there. So if I can open my drawer without creating chaos, I'm just going to get my circle punch and just going to slide that there like a finger notch. Okay, whoops. And then I'm going to take this one and I'm going to tuck it under there. So it is a minor tuck spot. Okay, tuck that under there. I feel like I need a bit more glue. I'll put a bit more glue down. Okay, but I also want to have some kind of, I don't know, not actually a pocket, not really a tuck spot. I know what I'm thinking of, but I can't think of the words. Anyway, while I'm trying to think of that, I'm going to put a bit of lace down the centre of this to try and cover my stitches. So what we're going to do is basically just run the glue stick along there like that. I think that's probably long enough. It's probably even maybe too long. Ding, 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 ding. And then I'm just going to trim it off, oh, where the fabric ends, and then just where we've pulled it up to cut it go back in and press it down. Okay, like so. Now in here I know I had a thingy, you know, like a photo slide hole thing. No, 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 no. Okay, my bag is empty, which means it must already be on the desk. So fabric, them, these. Oh, I know I had one. I saw it. I'm just flipping through. Or we'll put the leaf on as well. No, no, no. Whoops. Stand up there, pages. No, no, no. Oh, for goodness sake. Okay, well, what I meant was one of those photo slidey things to create like a little window hole, you know, like this bit, and we can stick it there to show that butterfly, if that makes sense. But I don't seem, for some reason, to have one of these cut, and I'm not going to dig out my big shot now, so we'll do that next time. But I do want to put this leaf. I just think that will really pretty up that page and bring in a bit of green. There's not a lot of you do have to be careful with these, by the way. Actually, do you know what, I can't help thinking that was a happy accident, because it shows you that if you want to, you can break these down and use them in sections. There you go. So what have I showed you? I showed you how to do the book pages. I've shown you how to line that up to make sure that it's properly where you want it to be. Okay, and we've done page 1 and page 2. Actually, it's page 1 and page 2, isn't it? Because that's where the thingy is. So when you come back tomorrow, I will have those holes in all of these, and it'll all be in there, and we can open it and take the pages out to work on to complete our book. So as always, thank you so much for coming along and spending time with me. I hope you found joy and inspiration. Stay safe. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye for now.